Oakland. After getting beaten up by the Houston Astros for most of the season, the A's seemed to have flipped the script. The A's entered this weekend's series with an abysmal 312 record against Houston. While it took the A's 5 months to record 3 wins against the American League leaders, they've managed to match that win total in just 2 days. The A's picked up their 3rd straight win over the Astros on Saturday by sweeping a traditional doubleheader with 2 blowouts in front of 19,244 fans at the Coliseum. It was their first sweep of a doubleheader since September 22, 1998, against the Detroit Tigers. The two Daniels, Gossett and Mengden, both provided something that had been missing from his starters over the past 2 weeks: length. Gossett allowed just 1 run in 6 innings in an 111 win the first game of the afternoon, and Mengden also turned in 6 innings, surrendering only 2 earned runs in an 114 evening victory. It wasn't in thrilling walk-off fashion like Friday night, but the A's mounted another late comeback in the second game of the day. Trailing 43 with 1 out in the bottom of the 7th, rookie Franklin Barreto served as the spark plug by speeding all the way to third on a liner down the right field line. Boog Powell brought home Barreto on a sacrifice fly to tie it, and Chad Pinder put the A's on top with a solo shot over the wall in left center. After adding 3 more runs in the 8th, Pinder completely broke the game open with his second homer of the night, a 3-run bomb to right that turned what had been a close game into a laugh-for-all in the span of an inning. With a lineup that featured 8 rookies in the second game, many of whom have developed together in the minors, the A's late offensive outburst against a club that many favor to represent the AL in the World Series this season showed why the organization is excited about getting a full season out of all the new faces on the roster. You play with these guys over the last 4 or 5 years on the minor league side and go through so much, Pinder said. To be able to do this together in the big leagues is really special. While Mengden did not get the win in what was just the 3rd start in the big leagues, it was the first time the second-year player had gone past the 5th inning this season. Aside from giving up a torn homer to Jose Altuve in the 6th, Mengden kept a strong Astros lineup in check, allowing just 5 hits. Having battled with injuries earlier this season, Mengden displayed some of the stuff that makes the A's manager Bob Melvin believe he could have a future in the starting rotation. He was terrific for the first 5 innings, using all his pitches and commanding where he wanted to throw it, Melvin said. Really pitched the way we saw him when he first came up last year. A really good start for him. With Mengden on the mound, the A's had a rookie at almost every position on the field. Having to look no further than to the team in the visiting dugout for an example of a team that has used a bevy of young talent to evolve from a perennial bottom-dweller to championship contender, Mengden believes a similar turnaround could take place in Oakland as early as next season. We're young, we're hungry, we want to be here, Mengden said. We're having a lot of fun and winning right now. We'll be a force to be reckoned with pretty soon. Chris Davis accomplished something that hasn't been done by an A's player in over a decade in the first game. After knocking in 2 runs with a single in the 6th inning, Davis surpassed 100 RBIs for the 2nd consecutive season. The last A's players to register back-to-back 100 RBI seasons were Miguel Tejada from 200,003 and Eric Chavez from 200,103. The 6 runs were more than enough support for rookie Daniel Gossett, who turned in one of the best outings of his career. Against a first-place Astros squad that is full of dangerous hitters up and down the lineup, Gossett kept them off balance as he struck out a career-high 7 batters through 6 innings of work. By no means was it a dominant outing. Gossett allowed at least a base runner in all but 1 of the 6 innings, but with the exception on an RBI double allowed to Alex Bregman in the 5th, Gossett managed to preserve an early 30 lead that was provided by his offense. It was a nice bounce back for Gossett, who lasted only 323 innings in his previous start. Gossett was pulled after walking Derek Fisher to begin the 7th and received a nice ovation from the fans at the Coliseum as he handed the ball to his manager Bob Melvin and walked off the mound. You have some tough outings when you get to the big leagues for the first time and you're pitching to stay all the time and impress for next year, Melvin said. He's been able to bounce back a couple of times this year from bad outings and you look for that out of a young guy. Gossett was not as satisfied with the rebound performance. Following up a bad start with a good one is a position he's often found himself in this season. The next step for the 24-year-old right-hander is to string together multiple solid starts before he could really feel good about his progression. One game it's kind of good and then I go back to having a subpar performance. I have to be consistent, Gossett said. Location was a little bit better and I was able to work well with Josh Phegley. I beat him up the whole game with some pitches and he stuck with me and stayed in the fight to put together a pretty decent performance. Diaz tagged Charlie Morton for 3 runs in the second. Matt Olson led off with a double that bounced off the top of the wall in right center and was later brought home on a triple by Matt Chapman. Friday night's hero Buck Powell followed up the triple with a single to drive in Chapman and scored himself from third on bad throw home from Morton on a grounder by Marcus Semien. The game really got out of hand after some poor command from the Astros bullpen. 5 of Diaz's 11 runs scored on walks, including 4 straight walks with the bases loaded in the 8th to put the score completely out of hand. The 5 base-loaded walks on the afternoon tied Diaz's record for most in a single game, set on September 5, 2008, at Baltimore.